All right, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone that joined. My name is Eric Martins. I'm the manager of GreenMile Customer Success Department here. And I do have Ruteador, our CTO, in the call. And we're going to start a presentation of the GreenMile Route to all the attendees that are here today. So, just briefly, thank you for taking the time and joining us today on this, as we're going to reveal and do the official presentation of our newest product called GreenMile Route. Most of our customers up to this day requested for us to develop a routing software, as they are seeing a lot of requests and necessities of a new routing tool that can do some stuff that the currently solutions in the market cannot do, right? So for that specific reason, we developed these two. All right, so let's jump into the next slide. So what GreenMile was developed to solve one problem that we currently have today, right? The routing problem. Right there. A routing problem that is currently the softwares in the market today are not updated, don't have the right maps, the right configuration. They don't allow you to do certain things or certain operations. With GreenMile Route, you'll be able to create some sessions, profiles, and such that we're going to be discovering in the next slides. So what is the routing problem that we have today, right? Is the items that I mentioned earlier. So GreenMile Route will be part of the suite of products that GreenMile has today, joined by GreenMile Live, GreenMile Driver, GreenMile Pro, Manager, Sales, Navigation, and Merchant Manager. The great thing about the GreenMile Route is it does combine two specific functions that we have today on the GreenMile Pro and Navigation. GreenMile Pro and Navigation are two of our products that provide proactive route optimization. And those optimizations happen in real time after the routes start. That means when you have a driver log into GreenMile Driver and you have Pro activated, those sequences can be changed due to the traffic conditions, roadblocks, or whatever issue that is going on that day. The system will suggest new stops to make your route more efficient and on the shortest time as possible. Shortest time, shortest distance, or time window on the time window preference. A great thing about this is GreenMile Route does all of that, but one day before. So on the GreenMile Route, you'll be able to plan your routes, create your profiles, and use historic traffic data to create optimal results. And the system keeps resequencing the stops before the route starts to give the driver the best sequence as possible. And to highlight that, it's a very complex calculations that the system does to accommodate those changes. And what we do for GreenMile Route, right? If you have one vehicle in one stop, that's an easy combination. There's one possibility, right? If you have one vehicle with 5 stops, well, that increases a little bit more. You have 120 possibilities of combinations. Right? You have one vehicle and 10 stops, the complexity is adding up. So this is all the possibilities, and the system has to calculate all those possibilities in a timely manner for you to have the routes already available. But let's suppose in the case of most of our customers, they have way more than 5 vehicles and way more than 10 stops. Can you guys guess how many possibilities we have? I'll let you guys think for 1 second, and I'm going to review that number. All these possibilities, if you have the combination that I mentioned before, was 5 vehicles with 10 stops, right? Currently, the routing solutions that the customers have are pretty much designed in the 1980s. They don't have the right look, the right feel. They're not user-friendly, right? And when you calculate your route profiles, imagine you plotted routes on the map, and you don't like the way they plotted, or didn't like the configurations you did, and you need to recalculate that. Some of the routing software today can take 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 30 minutes to recalculate of that, right? And they're all server-based. So they're installed on a server, stored on a machine, that if you lost that machine, you lost your routing. Great thing about GreenMile Route is we are a cloud computing solution that can perform those calculations faster enough, and if something goes bad, everything is on the cloud, another server will take the ownership of that process, and you're not going to lose your routing session. Moving ahead with that, we do have some changes on the routing. You can have some changes on the routing, and those changes can affect the time that you're planning your routes, right? Some softwares today, they do like a very hybrid solution. That means part of the solution is installed in your computer, and the other part is in the cloud. And again, that's not the optimal solution for calculation and time, right? Some of them have static maps that, with the development of the country or even the world, those maps are not updated. And if you want that map, you need to pay an extra fee, right? Another one is the current routing solutions, they're really hard to use, right? The UX remembers the Windows 3.1 is really hard to use. You have like a 6-month course to be able to use it properly and such, right? And sometimes the users are just doing what they're trained to do. Plan the route, send. Plan the route, send, without using the software in your favor to calculate the more optimal routes, right? So pretty much, in a nutshell, it's a very expensive paintbrush tool on your suite of products, right? What is the vision of the GreenMile Route, right? Our vision is to simplify the routing and again create an easy to use, user-friendly platform that any user with minimum training can create routes, manipulate stops, and run the platform to get the optimal results. We did that by using a full-on cloud, 100% based and designed in 2021, not back in the 80s, right? Don't get me wrong, love the 80s, but for software-wise, we gotta be user-friendly. So we also, as mentioned earlier, support multiple online maps. That means you get the most updated and available maps in the market today.
There's a great advantage as you don't need to buy any other maps. Again, as we use here, TomTom, Google with historical traffic integrated and also hazmat routes. Geocoding tool, right? So most of you run the routes, see if there is a cancellation, and then correct those stops. Great thing about GreenMile Route is we don't need to wait for a cancellation to correct the geocodes. GreenMile Route now has the ability to correct them in the moment of the routing, and that information can feed back to your ERP. Whereas the moment you're routing, you can see the information plotted on a map, and switch views on Google Street View, satellites. All right, this is not the right location. Let me move that geofence. So everyone to this day talks about machine learning, right? But what is it? What machine learning really entails? So GreenMile has the ability to learn the service times, do the times and movements, performance, and then feed that information back to a routing software. In that case, GreenMile Route. One thing about GreenMile Route, and before I show you guys live, let me just highlight some ways that we can do routing simulations. We can do route simulations by what is the optimal cost, the lowest service level, prioritized by volume, or do a route design. So pretty much route design allows you to create some filters and configurations that will filter your routes, pick up the right trucks, the right quantity of trucks, and limit the total hours of that route that day. And then you're going to have a route 100% personalized based on your criteria. So how about we see the GreenMile Route in action? So let me just switch this to the correct view, and we go from there. By the way, if you have any questions, just type the questions on the GoToMeeting, the webinar, and we're going to be able to answer as we go. Route. Share this. All right. Right here. The other screen too. Perfect. Right there. So this is the view of GreenMile Route right here. I do have a session created. Session number 1 with 115 customers, 115 orders, and is ready for routing. So I'm going to select that one. Once I select, the system allows me to create profiles, and those profiles act like filters for my orders. So when I create a new profile, I can create a profile name and then filter my orders by size or by cases, pallets, or whatever the number of the units of measure you have. I can also filter that by equipment or customer data, customer segments. Let's suppose I want to route only my big accounts or my supermarkets or such. I can add the segments here, and it's going to only filter and route those stops. I can also put some restrictions or limits on the driver service time, pre-route time, service end time, post-route time, and maximum extra time per route. And also filter by equipment type. So all the routes that are going to fall under this filter will be loaded in this equipment right here, which has the capacities listed right here on the corner. So right here, I also have the simulations. So cool thing about simulations is it allows you to prioritize travel time, prioritize travel distance, or respect the priority for the time windows, respect the time with tolerance, or prioritize large deliveries. The great thing about GreenMile Route is I can create various simulations by some different profiles, and then let the system calculate them automatically. So let's suppose I'm okay with all these changes that I did, and I click on Run Simulations. So when I run simulations, the system goes here and says, all right, simulation number 1 will give you 9 routes with an average distance of 138 kilometers and 7 hours and 19 minutes of route time. Simulation number 2 is better on the distance, but it will consume 10 routes instead of 9, right? And simulation number 3 is only going to create 10 routes, but it's not optimal or worse in any case, right? On the everything else right here is the not both stops, it's just the other routes that I have. So I can pick this one that seems better to me. I have 4 routes with almost like a 15-mile short distance on this one. Keep going right there. So, or I can pick all of them and say go to route analysis. So I'm going to pick stuff in there, go to my route analysis, and the system will plot those routes right there so I can see it. And scroll down, see all the routes, and zoom in on the map if I need to, see the locations. If I want to see a straight line instead of the roads, I can click on it and see the straight line. Can make the depot right here disappear to make like a clear view of the route. I can select a couple of stops using my lasso tool. Select it again. Select those 2 stops. Or even 3 stops if I wanted to. And I can move them to a different route if I wanted to. This route right here. So the system will be resequencing those stops. And now I do have those stops in a different route. Right here, I can see the total time of the route, total sizes, travel time per route, waiting time, and such. I suppose I want to go back here and do any changes on my simulation. I can do changes as soon as I want to go route analysis, those routes will be plotted again. One thing is, based on my selections, I have one unassigned order right here that is not available in any other route. I can simply select that stop that is right here, unassigned order, and then assign that to the route that I wanted to. Regis, do you have anything to add on this screen right here? All right, great. So far, this is the application that we came up with. Of course, we can import the route files or the order files via text file. We can create APIs integration with your current ERPs, and also send that information straight to GreenMile. This will eliminate the usage of the GreenMile connector, as this will be available live in your server. Go back here into the setup. You can go to the maps. I can import my files. I can choose whatever file that I want to import and integrate that to all my features. And I can have multiple routing sessions available as well. Let me run the simulation again. So we all can see how fast the system is, right? So I have a simulation, go to my route analysis, plot those routes. Remember that the slide that I showed you earlier, where some systems takes forever to load, this is super fast. As soon as all all the orders are filtered, planned, and everything, you can see that it will save a lot of time on the routers, as they can analyze and use a system that is very easy to use and will deliver the optimization you want to. There's a question here. On this, unmute. Sorry, that's a good side. All right, Regis. Sorry, you want to add something?
No, I'm trying to unmute myself here. Thank you, Eric. So one big piece here, it's really important about GreenMile Route, about simulations. If you go back to the first screen, I just want to explain a little bit more and add more details on these simulations here. Because usually when you are doing a routing process in a typical software, to run different simulations based on different variables and parameters, you need to go one by one, run simulations, wait for the computer to finish the simulation, change the parameters, run the simulation again, make notes of the simulation, maybe in an Excel spreadsheet to compare which simulations that the way that we are solving this problem here and using the power of cloud computing is running all the simulations together. So one really important thing here is that you can pre-set up different parameters in these different simulations, and when you go to route analysis, when you ask the software to run the routes, actually what you're doing, we are running all these simulations in different servers. So at the same time, in this example here that you are showing, we are running simulation number 1, 2, and 3. That could be, for example, for any reason I want to run a simulation using more vehicles or a different type of vehicle, or restriction with using time window restrictions, or do not restrict the deliveries based on time window. So you can easily compare these different simulations, because it's not a human being trying to solve the problem. It's not a human being going over and over again running these different simulations. The way that the software is doing is running parallel all the simulations and showing to you in green that, for example, simulation number 1 is better than simulation number 2, because simulation number 1 generates 9 routes. But in the average, the route distance of simulation number 2, for example, it's a little bit, it's not so good as simulation number 2, because the driver is driving more miles. So one really important thing here is using GreenMile technology and using the power of cloud computing, and running the entire solution cloud, we are able to do these different simulations and provide to the user different scenarios that the user can easily choose which one is the best one for that operation.
Let me just add one topic that I'm seeing on the questions here, Regis. A lot of people is asking how the system takes in consideration road restrictions, right? So GreenMile Route takes in consideration the truck size, the truck weight, and the hazmat restrictions when applicable to that road to route. Also, we just a question that pop up here is: can we import the routes via can the routes imported via web services, or at this moment we have API and file integration?
Absolutely. So the first version, we are from the version 0. We are releasing the software with a completely set of APIs. So you can use these APIs to send orders, to send locations, to send vehicles. Basically everything that you can do using the software, you can do and send data to us using these APIs.
Perfect. Thanks, Regis. Another question that is here is, can the total cost be presented with the simulations?
Yes, this is something that we are working on. It's not in this alpha version yet, but absolutely, yes.
Perfect, that's awesome. Thanks for all the questions, guys. I mean, we're going to be answering them as we go. Let me see another question here. Can the import happen to be a web service or text? We already answered that one. We're going to be via API or text file at the beginning. How does the platform determine which map set to use between here, TomTom, or Google?
Good question. So here in TomTom Maps provides hazmat and truck road restrictions. So we are using here in TomTom to calculate that, considering that you are driving a truck. But you are also using Google Maps to do things like, for example, map visualization. We know that the map visualization in Google is better than the other providers. We are using Google Maps to geocoding. That we also know that the Google geocoding is much better than other providers. So we are using a mix of map providers for different parts of the software to provide different solutions.
Cool. And at the end, another question. All this information after routing can be viewed in analytics, right? As we have the plan versus actual happening in GreenMile, correct?
Amazing, amazing question. So everything will be available in GreenMile Analytics. So you can easily compare the plan with the actual GreenMile Route with GreenMile Live and everything. Everything will be there.
Another question is, when GreenMile Route goes to market, will GreenMile connector be no longer supported?
So GreenMile Connector is a product that we developed years ago to connect it with another routing softwares. GreenMile Connector will be supported. There is no end of life. There is no plans to deprecate the software. We will still use it, but now you can choose a much better solution than this GreenMile Route. And the beauty behind it is since it's an integrated solution, everything that you are doing in GreenMile Live is reflected in GreenMile Route. So if you are changing your geocode in GreenMile Live, you are doing the same in GreenMile Route. If you are updating a time window or updating service times based on the machine learning algorithms that they have in GreenMile Live, at the same time, it's the same suite, it's the same data that this information is being pushed to GreenMile Route. But GreenMile Connector will still be there, will still be being supported.
There's a great question from Terry is there a limit on the number of simulations that can be run?
Good question. So right now, we are allowing users to, there's no limitations in the software, but we are allowing the user to create 3 simulations at the same time for the same profile.
And as you can see here on the screen, what I'm highlighting, I can have multiple profiles like everything else, book orders, and such. You can have like 10, 20 profiles, and then 3 simulations each, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The profile it's a way that you can filter orders. So you can, for example, in this case here, I'm filtering just book orders. So big customers with big orders, and I want to simulate using different vehicles and different parameters. So in this sense, you have profiles that you filter these orders and simulations that you simulate these orders using different strategies.
Perfect. That was a great question. Is there any data points for integration, the equipment types and equipment sizes?
You mean API integrations for that?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll provide API for everything, basically as GreenMile Live. GreenMile Live is fully exposed as an API, and the same thing here. So everything that you can do manually using the software, you can automate using API. Even the geocoding, that's a big part that we are using with the software here also. So geocoding is a process that usually the company is, usually a company is geocoding the new customer only before the routing planning starts. With GreenMile Route, we are releasing also a feature that allow you guys to geocode customers when, for example, you are entering a new customer in SAP or in your ERP system. So ERP can talk directly with GreenMile and ask for geocoding, and the whole process can be automated from the moment zero. That is the moment that you are entering a new customer. Perfect. Unnecessary to wait for a new order to arrive until an hour before to start the routing process to geocode the customer.
There's a question saying that can we make simulations with different quantity of vehicles or locations at the same time?
Good question. So if you return to the first screen, when you select the simulations, yes. When you select the simulations, add to the first profile, please. Bulk orders, for example. If you scroll down a little bit, you see that each scroll down. Yeah. So the resources is basically the vehicle types that you have available to run these simulations. What I'm saying here in this case that the profile of book orders has 3 simulations and these length of vehicles, so you can easily change and simulate the number of vehicles that you need.
Perfect. Let's see another one here. Alright, so that right here. Is the routing platform limited for use in the United States only, or it's going to be available worldwide?
Worldwide. So there's the whole maps and everything are available in any country. That's a good thing related to maps. So since you are using online and real-time maps, there's no outdated maps in the sense that you as a user don't need to buy or to buy a different license for maps. It's not necessary to update these maps once a year. Everything is updated in real time. Everything is online, so you can use this tool in any place, any country.
Okay. Another question is, how is historical traffic data used by GreenMile Route?
Good question. So basically, the data that we are using here to route is not only updated based on the maps that you are using, but you have average speed for every street. So we can use this average speed to simulate the real time that the driver will drive between point A and B, and also you will have information based on the time that specific street you have a traffic jam. So combining GreenMile Route with GreenMile Pro, we have the average speed of a street plus the real-time information that GreenMile Pro used to resequence that stop. So let's say that we planned a day before a route saying that the average speed of the one street is 20 miles per hour, just to say a number. But today the driver started the route a little bit late and there's a traffic jam in that street. So GreenMile Pro is acting to turn and resequence these orders and these stops based on the real time data. So these two tools used together use this information, the vehicle speed plus the street average speed and the real time traffic information.
Do you have a question here? When GreenMile Route will be available to customers?
Good question. So we are planning to have a limited number of users running the solution on July and starting expanding the process after that.
Great. Another thing is how the standard routes incorporated. Can prioritization be given to certain customers?
We can set up in the platform links between a driver and a customer, a vehicle and a customer, or a vehicle type and a customer. So you can easily respect all these variables and all these situations. For example, one customer that is attended just by one driver or a vehicle type or a vehicle.
So, okay. The question, pretty much, can I have like a set of accounts where 2 of my customers are fixed and the other 4 or 5 can be proactive can be optimized during the route?
Yeah, you can simulate this, linking these customers to a fixed vehicle or a fixed driver. So you have the best thing in the two use cases. So you have a dynamic route, but you can have few customers assigned to one specific vehicle type or one specific vehicle driver, and the routing algorithm will always assign that customer to that driver or vehicle type.
Okay. Another great question is, does GreenMile Routing tool support static routing in addition to order delivery? If so, what is the max cycle weeks allowed?
So you mean in the sense that we are planning, for example, salespeople, I think.
Correct. Sales or yes.
Yeah. That are planning, for example, one trip to a customer every 2 weeks or a weekly basis.
Correct.
GreenMile Route is not supporting this operation in the first version. It's something that is in our roadmap, but not in the versions yet.
Perfect. There's a lot of questions here also. Can the platform consider deliveries and pickups?
Yes. So when you send an order to GreenMile, you can send a flag saying that it's a pickup or a delivery, and the routing algorithm will use this information to plan a pickup and delivery.
Okay. How do we analyze the resulting analytics between current and past scenarios?
Good question. So let me answer. I'm not sure if I address this one, but basically everything that you are simulating here, it's exported to GreenMile Live as what we call a baseline information. Baseline information, it's the start of the planning. So let's say that you have arrival planned to 8 a.m. That's the baseline. GreenMile Pro will sequence that stop to 9 a.m. because there is a traffic jam. This is the planned time. We'll have baseline and planned. We also have in the platform what they call a projected time. That is based on everything. The driver is delaying here, the driver is not arrived at 9. Let's say that the driver arrived at 10, and the driver arrived at 11. So we have all this information stored, and this is historical information that is stored in GreenMile Live, and also it's available in GreenMile Analytics, so you can easily create API based on that.
Perfect. Another question is, how do we know which is the best option to choose right here on the simulations?
Amazing question. So, as you can see here, a few numbers are in red and a few numbers are in green. So the numbers in green means the numbers that is better than the other simulation. So simulation number 1, for example, run and generated 9 routes. Simulation number 2 generated 10 routes. So in the sense of number of vehicles that you need to set these 2 routes, simulation number 1 is much better than simulation number 2. In the other sense, the average route time, so I'm including more stops per route, the average route time for simulation number 1 is a little bigger than the simulation number 2. So it depends on the strategy and what you are trying to accomplish. Let's say that you are in you have a lot of deliveries and it's not necessary to respect time windows. So you can easily create simulations do not respecting these time windows. And probably have less vehicles to serve the same number of orders. So you can easily see the green ones and choose between these different simulations based on the common strategy.
Another question from Mike is there a list of exceptions to review? Example, one assigned order listed in the final results.
It's cut a little bit. Can you repeat again?
Yes. The question from Mike is, but on the final results, can I see any unassigned orders on the end result of the routing?
Yeah, that's this screen here that you're showing. So an assigned order basically means an order that cannot be assigned to a route based on the restrictions that you set up earlier. So based on the vehicle capacity or any size that you set up in the system. And yeah, as you can see here, you have graphs saying the total time, the percentage of size 1, let's say that you are planning based on vehicle capacity. So based on this information here, what decisions say, hey, this order that is unassigned cannot allocate to a route, so you can do it manually, but if I do, I will not respect one of these restrictions.
Another question is, that's a great question by the way. We mentioned that the optimization is continuously updated. When does that stop? When the route is started or when I finish my routing session?
Good question. So every time, GreenMile Route is a day before planning. So we are planning your routes in a day before, not necessarily just for tomorrow, but usually are planning a day before, 2 days before, doesn't matter. So when you start the route, GreenMile Pro start to re-optimize this route sequence based on all the variables that we already discussed: traffic, weather, condition, traffic jams, and so on. And GreenMile Pro keeps optimizing this route until you complete the route. So between your start route and your complete route, GreenMile Pro is in real time re-optimizing these things.
Excellent. So when I finish my routing section, that means when I send those routes to GreenMile, that's the moment where my plan is done. The optimizations now will be made when I start the route, correct?
Correct, yes.
All right, I have another question here. Is can I use GreenMile Route to plan sales routes?
Yes, you can use GreenMile Route as a sales planning. What you are not having is number 1. It's a kind of sales planning. Let's say that you are planning for a month. And you have considering frequency of this. So let's say that a sales guy needs to visit a customer every week. And you need to run all these future routes. We are not releasing this in the first version, but it's something that we are working on and have in the future.
Another question is it possible to see details of each and every route and on my stop visibility? I click on it right here, right there. can see all the stop details on that, on this. Go back.
Yeah. And important to say that every screen can be exported to Excel and can be extracted using a API also.
Can be accessed from the platform. Great question, guys. Another question is, how do you handle real-time orders for pickups, for example?
Okay, I think that the use case here, we already started a route and we are sending a pickup in real time to a driver. So in this sense, we are using GreenMile Live, that's our dispatching solution. There's an API that you can send these urgent orders to the platform. And one cool thing that we have is that it's not necessary to assign this pickup order to a specific route. The system itself can choose the best route to do that pickup based on, for example, the number of miles that a driver will need to drive to do that pickup, or the amount of time that a driver will have in a route to do that pickup. So this is managed in GreenMile Live, not in GreenMile Route.
Perfect. For unassigned order, on the unassigned orders, is going to be a suggested route functionality.
Yes. If you are planning a day before and you have an urgent order, you have a suggest route here. But the typical scenario is that when you are starting the route execution and you have an urgent order to pick up, in this sense you are using GreenMile Live. If you have an urgent order a day before, this will be handled here in an assigned order, and you can have the suggested route feature.
Perfect. Question is, how is GreenMile Routing being sold? In this
question is not to me, Eric. I'm the engineer here, not the sales guy.
Yeah, that's good. That's question for me and my technical team. So GreenMile Routing will be sell on a subscription basis, as I can send you all the details after this call on a PowerPoint with the screenshots and everything. And all of you that register to the webinar will be able to receive that information as well. Right here. Platform already answered that one. Perfect, guys. I think we answered most of the questions. I have another questions right here coming in. Great question. The speed was great with only 135 customers. But what is the impact if we have 5,000 customers on a platform?
Amazing question. So we did this test. And we have a benchmark comparing GreenMile Route in these stress scenarios with 100 orders, 1,000 orders, 3,000 orders. So we absolutely can share with you guys and show the numbers as we finish here these conference.
Quick question: is it possible to take into accounting ZTL when routing?
ZTL in the sense of zones, what ZTL means in this case?
I just asked the question back. Another question.
I think that ZTL is zone, so we can create. You can set up zones in the map.
Yes.
And filter based on the zone for profiles. So if you go back there to the first, you are seeing the profiles.
Mm-hmm.
Try to add any of these simulations. Go back one screen.
I want to edit the simulation right here.
Yeah, add one of these. Yeah, go to the first one, to the profiles. Sorry, not to the simulations, to the profiles. So you can have filters in the map here. So as you can see, scroll up a little bit.
Up, all right.
Yes. So you have filters, and you can filter based on size, and you can filter based on map filters. When you are filtering based on the map filters, you can create zones and filter based on these zones.
So yes, answering your question, we can definitely draw some geofences over the areas and route to those locations and limit the time those routes will start in those limited traffic areas. Just to answer your question, Julia. Another question is, let me ask here, regarding equipment and resources, can these data points be shared between regions, sessions, and eliminating repetitive work?
Amazing question. So the way that GreenMile set up is based on organization. So you can definitely set up, for example, organization and put all your resource behind that organization and tell to the system that these resources will be shared in all child organizations. Vehicles, drivers, any configuration, vehicle types, and so on and so on.
What cloud services is this system being hosted on?
We are using Amazon for everything. So we are already using Amazon in GreenMile Live, and we are also using Amazon here in this case. We have multiple data centers running the solution. So we have data centers. Most of the machines are running in the US, but we also have data servers running in Canada, running in UK, running in Asia, and running in Brazil.
Can you set simulations that can be used by multiple regions? For example, LA and Chicago and Dallas all use the same simulations?
And this is exactly the idea behind simulation. So instead of trying to do this simulation every time that you are routing, you can pre-set up these simulations and make available to all the users to run the same simulations every day.
Perfect. Can you compare simulations automatically, or is it manual?
It's manual. So you can see the results. This is something that we are not choosing by ourselves. The software is not choosing the best one, because number of routes can be good or bad based on the customer strategy. So let's say that we have a really hard time window restriction for one company. So it doesn't matter if I'm generating, and it's just example, it doesn't matter if I'm generating one or two routes more than the other scenario, if I'm respecting all the time window. So this is a kind of information that is based on the company strategy. The software is not choosing a lot.
Perfect. Let me see, another one is, can you simulate visit scenarios with various days of the week combinations for sales team? For example, can you suggest a depot location based on potential customers?
Yeah, sales simulations, it's something that is in our roadmap, but not in the first version.
Okay. Can you show resources, employees, roles, and vehicles, and ways to configure it?
In the profiles, you can easily set up the number of vehicle by vehicle types. So when you start the road simulation, you tell to the system just the vehicle types. But you have all the maintenance, driver maintenance, vehicle maintenance, and everything. That is currently in GreenMile Live. So if you enter a new driver or a new vehicle in GreenMile Live, this is automatically desynchronized here. It's the same suite sharing the same information.
Exactly. So remember, everything is picking up the information from GreenMile Live to present here. How do you plan to model various costs of the routes?
The variable cost is based on the vehicle type, driver profile, and drivers. So when you are assigning a vehicle type to a route, this cost is based on all the costs that you assign in GreenMile Live to that specific kind of vehicle driver.
That's perfect. Thanks, Regis. Is there a similar component like territory planner?
It will be, but not in the first version.
Okay, it's on a roadmap for the next releases, right?
Yes, correct.
Perfect. Let me get here another one. I think we answered most of the questions. Can we add orders to the routes if they're already on the street? That yes, there's a feature in GreenMile Live called pending orders, where we can definitely send the last minute orders to routes that are already in progress. So what the system does is look for the routes that are closer to that customer and has the stock on a truck, and we will assign that last minute order to the to that location. Okay, I think we have all the questions to this moment answered, and we're getting close to ending of our meeting. I would like to share with you guys one more thing before we go, and pretty much thank you guys for joining. See my email, my contact information at the end of this GoToMeeting webinar. I'll be sending you the PowerPoint presentation and also a link to this webinar. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. If you do have time, at the end of the meeting, a survey will pop up asking a few questions about routing and also if you guys are in the market to switch to a new routing software right now. And we can also plan out one-on-ones for webinars and GoToMeetings if you guys wish to have those types of sections. Again, thank you all for the positive feedback you sent on the questions. Great questions, by the way, and Regis, again, thanks for joining us on this call and taking all the questions as the primary engineer of the software as well.
Thank you, guys.
Y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye now.